Welcome to the Mischief. I'm Valen, and this is Vintage Story. I will give you a few more starter tips to help you survive your first day or two as well. One being that some of your best items aren't necessarily going to be made from stone. If you're short on something like stones or flint or the like in order to craft things, you can always take some wood nearby and turn it into a pretty decent weapon. Now, if you're smart enough to have kept a little bit of wood from your previous chopping, then you'd be better off than me. But if you take a knife and put it above this, you can turn it into a wooden club. It's actually a pretty good offensive tool because your early stuff, if you notice, the attack power on this axe is only negative 0.8 hit points, whereas the club is 1.5. It also attacks at a pretty fast rate, and not at a very long distance, but you can see it hits pretty quickly and can be used for a good offensive attack, or at least defense. Alternately, you can use your torch as a tool. It's only going to do the same as you would if you were attacking with your bare hands, but there's a chance you can set your target on fire, and with that, you'll start doing some damage over time. Another very simple option is to throw stones. If you just hold right-click, you can skip them across water, or you can use them to attack enemies, but sometimes they might be destroyed in the process. Other times you might be able to get the stone back if you end up missing your target. Either way, they do at least 1 point of damage, and it's worth having a few for those times that you just need to get somebody's attention. Another option is to actually make yourself a spear. By doing this, I can make a spear. They don't have a lot of durability, so you're probably going to want to use them as wisely as possible. If you have chosen a class that uses range as an option or melee, then it won't make a difference because the spear has both for an option. You'll also notice I have a maple seed. If you do want to plant any of the seeds you get, just sneak right-click and you've placed it in the world. And by taking that spearhead plus this stick, I then get a spear. Now you can just left-click to attack. It's a very slow attack, and it is going to be a bit more damaging than your club. And it'll reach further, but it is a lot slower. So if you want DPS, your wooden club's going to be better, but then you're going to be at more risk. If you want to stay at a bit of a protected range, you can just hold right-click, and these reticules will come up. If they start widening up because you're moving or because you've held it too long, you can always cycle off of it and go back to it, and then try and throw your spear when your reticules are the smallest for the most accurate of tosses. Doesn't mean it's going to always be accurate, but it might be a little bit more accurate than normal. Then you throw it at your target. Remember, it will fall, so if I go to try and throw this across the lake, you'll notice it kind of arched as it went over there, and it's now stuck somewhere in the tree. Eventually those will despawn, so you're going to want to try and collect them, but they will do almost double damage when you throw that weapon. If you're fortunate enough to find enough cattails in the world to harvest a few extra, then you can just take some sticks that you also gathered, combine that with a few of these cattails, and get yourself a Crude Shield. This is also one of the items you can have in your offhand. By using this, you gain a passive benefit of blocking 15% of all attacks, up to 1.5 hit points worth. Now, if it's really strong attack, it's pretty much just going to get broken or knocked through. But still, it's better than nothing, and it'll definitely help you in your early days where creatures might be throwing stones at you. Combine that with your club, then you should have a better chance of surviving. And even better, if you notice it has a block chance of 90% on active use. In order to activate your shield, all you need to do is sneak. Yes, you can move slowly forwards, backwards, left, right, and so on with it, but while your shield is up, you get that 90% chance of blocking attacks incoming, giving you a chance to just lay things on with your club and take them out rather quickly and easily. Besides ground storage, there is one other item that might help you save some space, actually a couple, and that's going to be this, a tool rack. You can then put tools of multiple types in there depending upon what it is, and you can hang them in place. It'll have 4 slots, and it'll actually accept just about the same amount of stuff that ground storage would, maybe a little bit less, but either way, it's one way of using some wall space to store things. Another thing you can do to help your survival rate or possibility increase is by grabbing a bunch of firewood and a little bit of grass. Strangely, you can actually do quite a bit with this. So if I open up my inventory, I put in here some of the grass as well as some of the firewood, drag it around and add in a knife to try and cut it all together. We get ourselves some improvised body armor. This is only good for a few hits of higher damaging enemies or several hits of lower damaging enemies, but it can help protect you 55% of the time from incoming damage, making you quite amazingly difficult to defeat. Okay, well, maybe not, but at least you'll have a better chance. And don't be afraid to experiment and look up things in the book, because you never know what kind of little gems you might find that'll make you look that much cooler. Last thing of note is that beds will not set a spawn point. You'll need temporal gears that you can find in loot chests, crates, or other areas like that, or rarely drop from mobs once killed and harvested. You just right click on the ground and you can set yourself a spawn point there with your temporal gear, but they've got multiple other uses as well. Last thing to help you get started is going to be the most common way of storing things once you've got yourself a base set up. With 24 reeds, you can make a reed chest. Setting it down, you then open it up, and you've got yourself 8 slots of inventory that you can dump all your stuff into, at least until those slots are full. Don't be afraid to look at the things that you've made as well by pressing the H key and finding out information about them, how useful they can be or what you can do. As an example, the handbasket is an ingredient for cattails. Just by combining it with a knife, you can get some of the cattails back that you used to craft it. And here's another tip. If you see horsetail and you've already got some cattails, then you've got another way of healing yourself, besides eating food. Yes, eating food will slowly heal you over time. The more full you are, the faster you'll heal. But an even faster way of doing it is with horsetail. You don't even need to have any kind of harvesting tool. You can harvest it with your bare hands. And if you collect a few of these, then you can combine them in your inventory with the cattails and create yourself poultice. Horsetail poultice. Now this is the most basic version. There are several and some are more effective than others, but by using this, just by holding right click, you'll apply it to yourself and you can see that my health bar has started going up. By looking at it, it says when used, it gives you 2 extra hit points. No, you can't go above that, but at least you can refill any injuries that you might have taken from anything around. And with that, I think we'll call it here. I hope you enjoyed this early on look as how to survive your first day or so of Vintage Story. If you like this video, please be sure to give a like, comment, subscribe, and as always, I'll see you guys next time.